Parshas Chukas, Likutei Torah Parshas Chukas, page Nun Vav, right column, Vayidaber Havaya. You can find it in Likutei Torah of the Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe starts off that it says Vayidaber Hashem Elevation Zois Chukas HaTorah. So we already know who's talking. It's Havaya talking to Moshe. So why does it say later? Asher Tiva Havaya Lim. It's like almost saying Moshe Katzman is talking to everybody else, and then he should say, "This is what Moshe Katzman said." He should say, "This is what I'm saying." Not this is just saying his name over. So, like if you look at the pasuk, it says, "Vayidaber Havaya," Hashem is speaking, and then it says, "Without Hashem is Havaya is speaking." You should just say that I'm saying. So that's question number one. Then we also we want to know what's Parah Aduma. The Parah Aduma is considered a Chukas HaTorah. Like, what is the word Chukah? I mean, we always know Chukah is something, it doesn't have a tam and seichel, but Chukah is also like a carving, a kika. We want to know why Parah Aduma is. We are on page Nun Vav. The right column. So, I want to know why the kika, Chukas HaTorah is the union of Chakika. So the Alter Rebbe starts off as well to know that the whole Torah is really Hashem talking and Moshe is writing. And that's why Torah is also like a third person almost. It's really Hashem talking and Moshe writing. That's why it can say Vayidaber Hashem and Moshe learn. It doesn't say Vayidaber Hashem El Li. Like they really say, if I'm writing a book, I should say Hashem spoke to me. But really Hashem's talking and Moshe's just writing exactly how Hashem told him to write it. Nothing more, nothing less. So Divrei Seifrim, the word Torah Shabbat Peh is more. Rabbi Chanina is talking, Rabbi Meir is talking, Rabbi Yehuda is talking. That's more of their own titles. But that is exactly how Hashem said it. So now we're going to go to Chukas HaTorah. Chukas HaTorah is a lashon of Chakika. Okay, so we have in Oisius, Bichlal, there's many different types of Oisius. You have letters written on the book, letters that people speak, letters that people think. And then within the letters that people think, it goes higher and higher and higher. So it says, Chukas HaTorah, how it's in Shai Shemakar. Over there, Torah is Oisius Chakika. They are engraved. And engraving, the reason why we're saying it's engraved, because when you engrave, I don't know, right over here, this over here, you could almost say, I don't know, maybe this and this is the same thing. Usually when you write something, there's the parchment, the paper you're writing, and the ink goes on top of the paper. They're actually two separate entities. When you carve something into a stone, the actual letter and the stone, you can't separate them apart. That's why we use lashon engraving. But those letters are mamish one with Hashem himself, and that's what Torah is an original Shei Shemakar. And then the Alter Rebbe says, because the Torah when it comes down in Gashmis and Oasis, which are written on the Klav, love, you have the ink is separate and the Torah is separate. The Klaf is separate. They never were one entity before. Once you put them on a parchment together, then they become one. But letters that are carved are one thing with the actual form that it was carved out. So we're going to skip the parentheses. So he says this is what it's called Chukas HaTorah, because this level of Torah comes from such a high Shei Shemakar that it's one carved with Hashem's, I don't know if you can't Hashem's brain, whatever. We're speaking abstract, but it's just an example of why it's carved. Now, why is Parah Aduma Chukas HaTorah? Because with the inyan of Parah Aduma, which we're going to go into further, you will be able to be pulled down, is a better term, pulled down into Olam Hazeh, to draw down letters, how they're carved and one with a stone, into the actual Torah, where it's really two separate things, the ink and the Klaf. But if you do this mitzvah, you can make it as if they were one thing. And from Torah Shabbat, and you'll bring that down into Torah Shabbat Sav. From there, you will bring it down further into Torah Shabbat Peh, which is not even Hashem's letters anymore. It's more of the person's own idea, his own understanding. Now, why? Because he says, Hainu, because the mitzvah Parah Aduma is the cloud for the entire Torah. Okay, it's like, I guess, we're going to explain what that means. And the neshama went down from its place in Gan Eden to make the Torah. As it says in the pasuk, "Vayitzaveinu Hashem lasos es kol ha'chukim ha'ela." Literally, a Jew makes the Torah. It says in the pasuk, "V'asisem oisam," and really, it's really "V'asisem ata." Right? You will make the Torah, and it says, "Shmartem es chukos asher yasa adam oisam ha'adam," that a person will make them. That a person makes them for mitzvahs in chukim. Why? Because he's mamshich from
Can we read inside of it?
Yeah.
That's where you do just outside.
That's his style.
Okay.
The person.
You could do yours now.
Okay.
You could read it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just trying. He's explaining it.
Okay, where you up to?
Right here, he's only gonna be Shiasa is
Yes, I'm trying. It's just.
Okay. It's very good. We're looking inside and you're reading. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't stop.
Okay, so he says that a person makes the mitzvahs. A person sheyasa Islam is a person. He's the one who does the mitzvahs and chukim. That he is mamshich from this darga, this plane l'mayla v'yis fakika in the Torah shebechsav, and he's v'chai bohem. That means a person is living in the Torah pitzvahs. In the Torah, when a yid lives in the Torah, he puts on tefillin, he makes a esig, he's mevar challenge from the shir. He is making the mitzvahs. Until then, they're just nothing. Nothing. When a person does a mitzvah, now the mitzvah happened. Until then, it's what should happen. Now it's actually happened. And that's why a person can then lamata two islands.
The person himself lives.
Yes, as we were saying right now. Now, what does it mean he's making the mitzvahs? You need a person that, okay, so a mitzvah is really how you connect Hashem to Yodam Hasa, or so to speak. Yeah, there's a mitzvah from Tayu that fell down into Tikkun, and when you do a mitzvah is literally connection. So you connect this mitzvah from Tayu back all the way up. So that's how you make the connection. Mitzvah means the connection. And it could only happen with a neshama who's from Tikkun, because he's mevarer of the nitzutz, which is from Toyim, because you have ma, which is mevarer. Okay. So now the author wants to understand how is it possible to draw down from the Isis HaChakika, which really one of Hashem himself, down into Olam Hazeh, where everything looks separate from Hashem. Literally, everybody says Aniva Afsiyoi, the Oyerdim, Aniva Sisani, of all the paris and all of the modern day paris who say that there's okay. So how do you do it? So he says that's where Parah Aduma comes in. Explains elsewhere that there's a passage in Yecheskel that says a chayis yati v'shut. These wild beasts on the next column, the second line. A chayis yati v'shut. You have these wild beasts. They're running back and forth. The yatsi is like he yearning to go boop, and shuv is the yearning to come back down. That's yatsi and shuv. So we have our famous guy Avraham Avinu. He's very popular in Likutei Torah. Every other minor you get Avraham Avinu. Get stuck in there. Holich Minasaya, and also this pasuk Holich Minasaya. You always have this pasuk Holich Minasaya. Holich Minasaya. Hanegva Avraham Avinu was going from darga to darga every day. He's going from one level of Avodah to Hashem to the next level to the next level. This is what it says in Sefer Tzira. You have these people, they feel like they're about to leave Olam Hazeh. They feel they're not deep in the mind, in the skull, they're about to go. So they should tell them, if your heart is running, go back there. So what is he saying that? Because being a person, actually I was thinking about it, why did he say Bino Liba? Understand it was with the heart. So I think that the more one, I don't know, I think the scientists will tell me I'm right or wrong, but the harder one thinks, the more things are turning, and maybe the heart gets involved as well. Like the heart starts moving as well. Yeah, but even more, the actual physical heart starts pumping. Something. So a person is Mizbayim B'Gdulas Hashem. Okay, Mizbayim B'Gdulas Hashem. He starts building buildings in his brain about the greatness of Hashem. You can build Atzilus, now you can build Bria, you can build Yitzira, you can build Kadma and Keser. He starts to have these huge rooms and chambers and Yichalis and Svirais and like a floor. You build a huge apartment complex. You have this room, that room, that room, that room. Okay, Lamaila, you have this, that. So now he sees this whole building. He's like, very excited. Now he wants to go be part of the building. He wants to go for a few stories up. So we're worried, okay, so what does he do? He's saying, we know the Eibusher created an entire world with the Alephes. The Alephes are like Malchus of Atzilus, who is the Malchus Peh, Tishba Peh. Yud is really the beginning of all the Alephes starts with the Yud. Literally one little dot. Wonderful.
Aleph starts with.
And Aleph starts
It's
with
two Yud and a Vav.
2 Yud and a Vav. So you have Yud and then Vav. Right? And then the Vav gets stretched out, you get a Hey, and then you start getting other letters.
When you start to write, you start automatically making the yud. That's how you start.
So we know that Olam Haba, everybody, the Olam Haba, the big Olam Haba, that was just with a little dot. Right? So even that is really insignificant compared to Hashem. And we know how big is Olam Haba. We're saying Olam Haba is so great. We know Acher Elisha ben Avuya, he was the Rebbe of Rabbi Meir. And he was learning Pnimius Torah, and he is a cloud that Lamaila, there's no yeshiva and no amida. There's no sitting or standing. Whatever that means, Lamaila. So he went wherever he went, and he saw Matat. I don't know, he was either sitting, I think he was sitting. So he was sitting. So he was led to heresy, to Minos. And someone who's such a smart guy as Acher decides to become a Pikodes, he knows that to be Mahadir and make sure every which way to be Mechal Shabbos, and you have to be a mamash a big guy in Olam to be the best of Pikodes. So we know how he ended off. The Gemara finishes off that he was thinking of doing tshuva. And what could happen is that Mila, they could make the person believe as if his tshuva will never be accepted. So he would go to like different shuls, and then you would hear different voices saying everybody should do tshuva except for him. And then you would hear kids reading certain psukim, and it just happened to be when they walked into shul, they were reading a pasuk that said that he can't do tshuva. So there are different versions of what he did next, whether he killed a kid and chopped him up and sent them to all these 13 different shuls or whatnot. But in reality, even he could do tshuva, and the famous rule is if someone tells you to get out of his house, that's the one thing you never listen, because you gain by leaving his house. He tells you to wash the dishes, your whole deal is to try to be in his house. Once he tells you to leave, you really shouldn't listen, because if your goal is to stay in the house, what do you gain? But he chucks you out. So if they tell him you can't do tshuva, it's just really testing his resolve to see if he's going to push him and do tshuva. So
if you would have seen the work of somebody that you would have never heard of, you would have seen the work that Matan Tzchar Tzadikim is not another Matzah Haba.
Then that was something else as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So Acher, he was in the Gehenna for a long time. He was the Rebbe of Rabbi Meir, and it went all the way until Rabbi Yochanan from Talmud Yerushalmi. So that could have been a good few hundred years. Usually you have Gehenna for 12 months. It's like people say Kaddish for 11 months. Right? They don't want to say for 12 months because when you say he's there for 12 months. I mean, this guy was for hundreds of years. Right? And he said, okay, and finally they got him out. But they said it was worth it, the Amirah, they got him. And they said it was worth it for all his time, for all his years. You should even go in Gan Eden and attack them. Right? Because I think Gan Eden and El, how great that must be. And this is all created with a Yud. So a person is avoiding all this, and he sees how the Eibishter is way higher than any of this. So what does he want to do? He says, we see life comes from Hashem, and Hashem has the source of life is next to him. It's not even him. I mean, it is him, but it's like something tough to Hashem. It's like the life of the whole world. You would think Hashem is his being, his life. No, it's just like something secondary to Hashem. So he's tafel, Megabel Batel, Megabel Hotzatz Mutzi, he's Vorech. This is Yomshach, Eirotzin, and Shuvka to become a person who literally wants to just become Hashem. He just wants to become Hashem. How it originally was. Everything comes from Hashem, wants to go back. It says, Mili v'shamayim v'imcha lechavatzi, we say this, v'imcha, what's with Hashem, like all the malachim, Gan Eden, Elam Haba, Elam this, Elam that, lechavatzi, but I want Hashem. What's v'imcha? That I don't want. Even Gan Eden, which is called imcha, which is Mechor Chayim, lechavatzi, only one Hashem. So this Ratzoi is called Ratzli Bechel. There's a fire, a passion in one's heart. And he's running. He wants to go up to the Eibush. What does he have to be? He has to be Shuvah. And then he has to go back down. Why? Why should I go back down? Maybe I should become absorbed into Hashem. He's the source of everything. Like if this is Geshmak, this challenge, and the source of this challenge is from the Ifan, and from the Malach, and the source of the Malachim is from higher Malach. The source of higher Malach is from higher Malach. So people are going towards Geshmak. Right? So why should I come back to to shake the lulav, make the challah, and make a bracha, and do a mitzvah? What's the point? But again, so he has to think in Soiviv Kolchom. But he really has to think that really the English is when you say Soiviv Kolchom, it's like you have a big circle that circles everything equally, which means that everything within the circle is equally circled by what's outside of the circle. So the Eibusher, just like he's in Gan Eden, he's Lamata and Olam Hazeh. Just like he's in wherever there, he's here. So you don't need to go running anywhere. You can stay right here, and you're going to what you want. Which is Hashem. That's what the pasuk says. The Shemaim is Haaretz Hamim Malei, and therefore there's no running to Hashem up there because he's Lamata, just like he's Lamata. Now he says like this. Yeah, we have a pasuk in Tzilim. So Yelchim Lechayel Lechol. They're going from Chayel to Choyel. But that's only shaykh in the darga of Mamali Kalam. What does Mamali Kalam mean? It means that there's an oilam and there's something that's being Mamali the oilam. Now, depending on how big the keli of the oilam is, that's how much oil is going to be able to fill the oilam. Like if you have a light bulb, the more watts, the breaker, the more I think it's amps. The more amps that goes through, the higher the voltage in the watts you can send through. So the bigger the oilam is, the higher the oil is. So over there, the bigger the keli is, or the more in ruchnis, it's really the more bottle the keli is, the more oil you're going to get. The less bottle it is, the less oil you're going to get. Until you get to the Mazzi, you have no oil. The higher you go, you're getting more and more oil because the keli is more and more bottle. So that's all in Mamali Kalam, where the oil fills up the keli. But mitzad Soiviv Kol Hamin, that the highest argument in ruchnis and the Mata and the Maz is equally the same to Hashem, and Hashem's Etzem is there as well as here, and therefore it says last love Mashiach comes to be Lamato. It says that you don't have to have aliyos, you don't have to get to more oil and more ruch, you don't have to go up. You'll be right there because Hashem will reveal himself completely. So from this is Nimshach Eshuv. The person has his heart, his neshama is about to soar up Lamaila. It says Lamato Lamato. This is the Yira and Bittul, which is even higher than the hour that he has to Hashem. He's afraid of it. Every day to be here to do a mitzvah, not to leave. And since he's not a mitzvah for himself, he's going to do what Hashem wants rather than what his neshama has an animal to do. This is the Yisoid Hamayim, which in the Koyach Chachma, which is higher than Koyach Bin. Mayim, if you pour this water, which we had this cup spill, Mayim just goes. It goes down. Fire goes up, water goes down. So the Bino, a person understands something, he wants to get closer to it. The person understands that something's very interesting, he tries to check it out, get closer to it. That is Eish, a fire goes up. Water, on the other hand, which comes from Chachma. Chachma is Re'iyah. So when you see something, you don't necessarily need to get any closer. You're just in it. It's like a virtual reality. You're just there, you don't need to get any closer. So over there, you just put, which is the water which goes down. Okay, now how does a person come to this? This is through the Mekayim Torah mitzvah. It says, Miminoi Eish Das. Miminoi is Bechinas Mayim and Eish Das. The Eibusher's right side is water and fire. Now the person has to be comprised of both of these Bechinas. He has to have the fire, which is him having his abundance and all these great daggers from Island, and then understand the Eibusher is even higher than those daggers. And he doesn't even want those daggers, he just wants Hashem himself. About when he's about to just Hashem will soar up, which is the Eish, and then he has the mind to go back down to understand he has to the hair. But the point of the Neshama being in Adam Haz is to do Torah in mitzvahs. And that's how he comes this. And this is the entire mitzvahs was founded. The entire foundation is this twofold. There's one that's up and then back down, which is Ha'alo'as man, Hamshachas man. The Yidden are the Nekeva, and they are going to be Ma'ir man, which is their Ava to the Eibishter, which then comes back Hamshachas man, which is Hamshacha from the Eibishter back down. Now, Para Aduma has in this both of these Bechim, as the Ratzi and Shukri. What is the Ratzi? The Ratzi is the fire. You burn up the whole Para Aduma, you burn up the fire, it becomes a. The shuv is where you pour the water, Mayim Chaim El Keli, into the keli. You're putting the water into the keli. Now, that's why it says Zois Chukas HaTorah. That's how you reach the chukah of the Torah. Let's skip this.
What's the shoe? Backwards and forwards.
Okay. Chai Torah show you.
Yeah.
Everything in the world is a.
Wait a second.
Meaning.
Okay, let's go to the Atom.
Where?
Paragraph base.
Base, you can go there.
Okay, so now we have to understand, right? We said Paraduma Zatza and Shav. We have to understand how burning the product is the end of Ratza. So now there's a Zaya. It says that a cow it gets its highest from the left side. Who's a cow? Shav. You know the cover that. Yeshaya saw my cover, right? Yeshaya is a Bria, my cover is Bria. The cover has 4 sides. The other,
Wheels.
Neisher, Nesher, and Aryeh. So Aryeh is on the right, Shoyer is on the left. So Aryeh is always, you say the Eish, Chesed is on the right, Shoyer is on the left. It's the smile. Now we always know smile, if you're pushing someone away, don't push them too hard. Whatever you're pushing, don't push too hard. You use the left hand, the weaker hand. You want to draw someone close, use the right hand, more strength to pull them close.
That's it.
So what the Eibusher does is he pulls Kedusha close because the Eibusher loves Kedusha. Now, when you pull something in towards you, the only thing that's going to come in is what you're pulling. No one else is allowed. You pull exactly what you want, and you're pulling it towards you. You're not letting anything in. The second you start pushing outwards, the further you push, the further it goes away from you. So it could allow all the people on the outside to start latching on. So from the side of Yamin, you're not getting the klipa to get a hold. It's only the city of the Kedusha, as the pasuk says, a half the eschem, like the 8th line, a half the eschem on Havaya. The Eibusher says, yeah, Havaya Panam Vitanu. The Eibusher shines his Panim to us. Mashenkin the klipa is to the Makal from Achiyayim. So when he throws behind his shoulder, and the klipa could get. So the klipa can't get from the right side because the Eibusher says, Yamin Hashem Tiratzoy. The Eibusher's right hand smashes the enemies. As I'm drawing him close, I'm not letting anybody in. I'm not fighting anybody. I'm pulling in who I want. But when I'm pushing out, then the klipa could get. Right? Therefore, it says by the Churban Beis HaMikdash, the Eibusher put his right hand backwards and took it away. Yeah? Now, where does the klipa get? After the parentheses, Unika as means from the Bechina of the Smile. Because the smile is doich whatever I'm giving, and when I'm pushing what I'm giving, it's like, let's say I'm pushing the money out, I'm throwing dollar bills out, so not everybody can take it. Not just, let's say I want to throw it to him, maybe him, he's not here nearby too. So now he starts taking those dollar bills.
So it's a bit.
And he throws a bit. So after tzimtzum, you're going more and more away from the Eibusher, hiding. It could be that the klipa could get. Okay.
2 more minutes. Wrap it up.
Okay.
So what's the point of
What's the point?
the
Okay. So if we want to hear what the point of the Zveikus Apara is, you have 4 elements in the cow. You have A for the Eish, Ruach, Mayim. So what do you have to do? You have to have a Ratzah and a Shuv. You have to burn up the cow, get rid of all the other elements. Mayim, Ruach, Eish, Ruach, Mayim. Offering, the only thing you're left with is offering. Well, these things, like the lady says later, is you have all the taivas and all the mass. Everything that a person could want. So the actual taiva could be used for anything. You can love Hashem, you can love not
7-layer cake.
right. So you got to do is burn up all the other stuff and use that, and the time is just for that's the Ratzoi, and then the Taiva, you want to run to the Eibusher, get rid of, burn up whatever needs to be burnt up, mash the shoot back down to Torah mitzvahs.
Shkoyach.
Shkoyach.
That's fine.
That's fine.
I looked on YouTube, I couldn't find it.